Hi, everybody. Jtrader here for a new episode. So I'm very happy and grateful to have a great trader today with us. His name is Lance Bristein. So welcome, buddy. Thanks for being over here. Where are you right now?
Jay, my man, it's good to be here out of the wonderful Chicago. I'm sure if we were to look out the windows, we have very similar views, urban Chicago versus beautiful Italy.
Well, that's the point. Different, I would say, places, different maybe backgrounds, but very similar lifestyle. So Lance over here is great trader, professional trader, mentor. I know that he likes weightlifting. I know that he cares about his shape, his lifestyle. I mean, we'll see if he really cares about his lifestyle. But a few days ago, I made like a tweet asking, what do you eat for your breakfast? Because I believe that part of becoming a great trader is not only technical. So you can be really the best trader technically, but if you miss something out of your routine, I think that you're missing a big piece of you as a trader. So Lance, what are the key points for you in becoming a good trader and also passing from being a beginner to an advanced trader?
Sure. And I think to your point about just breakfast and what we eat, I think nowadays people have realized that performance and elite performance and being your best every day really does come down to the whole holistic view of the body, right? Like you need to be in shape, you need to have a clear mind, you need to be getting good sleep. Like we did the March sleep challenge with S&B Capital, pushing people to get better sleep. And I think people really underestimate how important it is to just be well rested, healthy, fit, and focused to be able to perform at this job, because it's not an easy job.
Yeah, you know, when I love to eat, but I also love to stay in shape. So if you ask me, one of my favorite food is sushi, or it could be fish, seafood. And I could eat a ton of that. But the point is, when I eat too much, for example, the previous night, and then I have to trade, or I have to follow the market with, some traders, I feel lethargic. My mind is not that responsive to taking decisions. And I feel like, something like overfull. So I sit or I stand up like now, and I don't feel comfortable. So really, this impacts me in a percentage of my trading style and even of my, I would say, behavior during the day, how I trade, how I feel, if I have FOMO. So I really like to feel and stay in shape for everything that concerns my work. So during the week, I start like eating good from Monday till maybe Friday or Saturday. And then I, give myself a reward on Sunday or Saturday evening. So to always have that little bit of stress-free day where I can simply, like, okay, I want to eat this. I want to drink some good red wine. I like that. I want to simply relax, chill. But at the same time, I know that I have to go back in my regimen on Monday.
Yeah, and I think what people underestimate is no matter how good you get, trading is never easy, right? Like no matter how many years you've been doing it, like for me at least over a decade, no matter what, it's still a difficult job. Like you need to be on top of your game. You can't be tired, you can't be hungover, you can't be super full and lethargic, or else your edge goes away. Like edge is always hard to come by. And if you're a beginner, like if you're starting out, you need to come to play every single day. Like this is a performance job. And when I would train people in the office I was managing, I would tell them all, like, you need to show up every single day. I'm asking for 110%, because that learning curve, right? Like people can't struggle forever. At some point, you need to get a different job. You need some way to pay the bills. There's an opportunity cost of whatever else you could be doing. And I see this with so many retail traders on Twitter, right? These are real concerns that they all have when they're starting out. And it's so important to never, ever waste a day on that learning curve, right? Because you don't know how long you're going to last. You don't know how shitty the market's going to be or how great the market's going to be. And so I really, really push people, like, you need to come to compete, especially if you're starting out, no wasted days.
Yeah, for me, it's like I always compare trading to training, like working out. And for me, traders are like athletes. So I always say and make this like a comparison. Imagine that you want to play in the NBA, or you just want to play like basketball in a team, and you have to go every single day to train. I mean, you can tell me I know the setup. You can tell me I know what a 3-point shoot looks like. But one thing is like looking at the game. One thing is really performing and being able to have, I don't know, like Stephen Curry, that 40 or 45% win rate when he takes a shot. And this comes only by trading and only by practice every single day, following your coach, that in that case is that mentor, and he has to be able to work on your, I would say, weaker points, because I can study, but I can still be far from being able to reach my goal. And that's for me where it comes about, like also individual, like personal, I would say, sacrifice, spirit of resilience, goals, and more. So how you, for example, you see the beginner traders that they want to become advanced traders, what are you trying to give to them when you, for example, you mentor them?
Yeah. So, and I know we were chatting before this about the best topic, and I think what we really want to do is ideally lay out a game plan, right? So for every stage of the progression of a trader, for all your listeners out there, let's give them the most concrete kind of path and just map of what to do at each stage. And so I would say more than anything, the first stage, like assuming you know the lingo, you have the software, like all that stuff that I'm sure you help them all out with. I think the first stage traders really need to focus on is developing strategies with edge and building what we would call like a playbook. Essentially building a database of these are my different types of strategies. These are all the nuances that make them good or bad. And so I would use Evernote, but there's a lot of different ways to do it. Like forget risk management, forget psychology, all those can come later. Like, when you're trading and all that, but before you even risk $1, you need to find strategies with edge and build up this database of charts and videos of exactly what plays look like. And I mean, so I guess for new users and people that are working with you, how do you start them off on finding edge?
For me, is like you need, something new. You have already a blueprint. You see already what it works. And we can be today, it's not anymore trading like the 80s. I mean, when I started back in the days, I read a lot of Larry Williams in the futures. And I remember that every of the pattern that he was trading was had a background of back testing. So he knew exactly for every single year how much percentage he used to have for that singular pattern. And I remember, I think was how to make 1,100,000 from 10K or something like that, short-term strategy and so on. And I remember this book because every single thing was with a precise percentage. So what I do, I don't look at only, with tracking performance, what I did, because maybe I missed like 80% of the pattern that I trade in this market. So I simply get every single weekend, all the stocks in this case, let's say we're talking about stocks that we had in the market, and I divide them per category, and I see what were all the setups that are my playbook and how they perform. First of all, how many hours, how much was the win rate, how much was the drawdown before they were able to pay me. And so at the end, I see what's good in March, what's good in April, what's good in May. And with the years, I can see that certain months repeat. For example, I may see that maybe September, October are months where I see less gappers. Let's say in November, December are months where I see more long plays and so on. This gives me an edge. Of course, then I will need to know tape reading, or let's say price action reading, all of those things that add edge to my, let's say, back testing playbook. But this is also my start.
Yeah. And so I think what always comes up with people is where to even find those strategies to begin with. And because I think if you're on your own, like if you didn't have any books, if you didn't have any mentorship, if there weren't any role models out on the Twitter world to learn from, I think it would be nearly impossible to find edge in today's market without anyone guiding you. And that's why I think it's so important to have, whether it's a prop firm, whether it's a chat room, whether it's a course or whatever, you need somebody guiding you to that edge. I mean, wouldn't you agree? Like if you started from nothing, you would need outside resources to find these strategies.
I remember that when I started, for example, small caps, 2017, 2016, 17, I banged my head all over, really all over. The guy that I said to everybody that helped me so much, because I learned from him so much, so he's my mentor, Smash the Bitch, Scott, that we were together here last week. And I mean, he gave me an imprinting. Of course, then I had to also work it for myself. So, but I needed somebody to coach me and to guide me, maybe to my way, all right? But he had to guide me. So, as we said before, there's nothing to reinvent. I mean, if I want to learn how to trade, there's nothing to invent right now. You have everything from S&B Capital, or as you said, trading firms or trading rooms that I can teach you. Of course, then you have to see if that's also suited for you, because maybe I have more personality lens for position trader. Maybe you're more like a scalper trader. So if I teach you a scalping strategy, may even that be perfect for other 10 traders out there. Maybe you don't like it. You're not able to do it because maybe your personality, the way that your mind connects, it just may be different. So I would say experiment. That's the reason why when I started small caps, I got in 6, 7 chat rooms. And I was coming from years where I was trading futures and Italian market. And I was humbled to say, I'm the last of the wheel that now has to start again to study in order to find something that works for me right now. And I mean, when you started, you read more books, you had more, I would say, mentoring by some traders, you are more following lessons, or you had more experience, so you had to try yourself what was working for you.
Yeah, and I think what people always do wrong, because I always get emails, DMs, whatever from a bunch of traders, or just talk to them at these meetups, and so many traders will put too much risk on before they have edge in these strategies, right? And it's as silly as going into a casino and not knowing that you have any edge. Like imagine if you started playing poker, online poker, and you sat down and you started betting $500, $1,000. It would be the silliest idea imaginable. But in the trading markets, people do that for some reason. And like I think in this beginner stage, people out of I think like immaturity and just excitement and just human psychology, like they end up just risking way too much. And like you can be trading one share, as embarrassing as that is. Just trade one share and just build this playbook, get these repetitions and document every single one. And I think what's so important is for these traders to start to figure out what makes this setup slightly more probable and work a little bit more. Like if we get a little bit better consolidation, do my odds go up or down? If we get better volume on the breakout, do my odds go up or down? And like until you've really gotten so many data points of each of these setups, like you're not going to have the confidence that you're not going to be confident that you have edge. And if you don't have edge, you're just gambling. You might as well just go to the casino where you're going to bet, you know, I'd rather you go to a slot machine and bet, you know, $1. Yeah, rather than people will just do trades for thousands of dollars and risk it all. And it's just it's just irresponsible.
Exactly. This is really some of the things you say seems like the things that I like to say. And it's true, because when somebody comes to me, the first thing I tell him is like size down, because everybody that I met in my life, even he was a beginner, he tells me what a great trader he is. Then, for example, we start working together or whatever, and I see that it's not like that. So people make errors, so you have to correct them. So for me, the main point, if I don't know, you start trading Tesla with 3 or 4 shares, because nothing changes in terms of technically,
yep,
unless you buy something liquid and you need, of course, but nothing changes trading Tesla with 2 shares and 2,000 shares.
Yep,
it changes buying one micro contract of mess or buying 10 contract of yes, nothing changes. Then, okay, you can tell me, Jay, it's about how you manage yourself, emotions, how you have self-control, and all of that. I know that it's about experience, but otherwise, it totally is the same. So if you can repeat the good steps with a very, very small account, then you can put this in, like in a compounding way. For me, the main point that I see is that there are so many, I would say, there's so much like volatility and liquidity that came the last 10 years in trading. And too many people are sharing that it's so easy to make money in trading, which is not. So people start with a small account because maybe they are going to university or they have a job they don't like. They think this is the holy grail and that in about 6 months, they're going to be profitable. I remember Brian Lee that said that a good trader takes between 3 and 4 years to become good. And I agree. It's very personal. So there are some traders will take 1 year. There are some traders that I know that in 1 year, they became very, very good. But it's personal. So I can read the book. You, Lance, can read the book. I maybe take 6 months to read it and learn it. And maybe take like 1 week. So it's different, right?
Yep.
And the same thing in trading. If you want to build a small account into a big account, you can do it, but you have to be already very good. Yep. Otherwise, it will be a matter of 3 or 4 lock positions. And often traders start because they maybe, I don't know, bought GME options on the day that was a squeeze and they made like 50, 100K. And then they're going to lose everything. And then they start thinking, okay, now it's time to start studying if you really like want that life, because it's not for everybody. I mean, one of the main things I had in my life was anxiety, frustration, panic attacks. I spoke this about, I think, 4 years ago, and nobody was talking about this. Like, trading was the easiest thing to do in the world before I said something like that. While I was in hospital a couple of times with like, thought it was a stroke, but it was anxiety. And this only to tell the traders that it can happen even to you if you don't know how to manage yourself. Where you go back to what Lance was saying, you need a diet, you need to mental health, you need like feeling good, having a routine so that you can slow down this increasing of stress that you burn and that you put up in your daily routine, because it does. Managing position of 75, 100% of your max risk per dollar per day brings you stress. Yep. You maybe be cold and blooded, but it will bring you stress.
And I want to touch on something too you brought up, by the way, like you were discussing the learning curve. And I think so many people fool themselves into thinking they'll be different, right? Because you cited Brian Lee, who's fantastic, saying 3 to 4 years. And so here's the thing. In the prop world, when I'm hiring or interviewing people or discussing with new training classes, we tell them the learning curve is 2 years. And 2 years working 60 hours or more in one of the best environments with direct mentorship, with access to a dozen or 50, 100 profitable traders, with all the firm resources, all the pretty much everything you could ever imagine. And that's working your ass off, and that's still 2 or more years to just, and not to be some huge star trader, but to become break even and starting to approach consistently profitable. And so I think what people fool themselves where they think, oh, I'm going to do my full-time job, then I'm going to part-time do this. And you can manage that. But keep in mind, if you're doing this 10 to 15 hours per week and you don't have those resources, that learning curve is going to be really, really, really long, and nothing guarantees success, right? And so I don't think people internalize like just how hard it is to get good at this skill and to get all those reps in and to see all those data points and to build up that playbook where you spot those nuances like we're talking about.
Lance, a question. The first time you went to the gym, could you bench press, let's say, what's your max right now? Let's say bench press 1 repetition.
I did like 300 pounds in the winter.
Okay, so the first day that you walk into the gym, could you bench press 300 pounds?
Nope, no chance.
What would happen if you try?
You would get injured.
Exactly, or you die.
Yeah.
Same thing is over here. Can a trader that, let's say, has a 30K account, never have experience, trade right away this 30K account in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 position at the first time he started?
No, and so it's just such common human psychology where, like, I really love the saying, fast is slow, slow is fast. And it could be weightlifting or like recovering from an injury with trading, and just being human nature. We want to push and move as quick as we can. People never want to build the fundamentals. Nobody wants to spend 6 months trading one share. Nobody wants to do that because of ego, human nature. But building that foundation is so important, right? And it's this paradox where the more time, like imagine at the gym when you're starting out, the best thing you could do is spend your first 6 months working on form and mobility and building the foundation for all these lifts. Because what people don't realize is once you have that foundation, it's so much easier to scale. And to tie this into another point you made about sizing up in the market, I was speaking to an intern last week, and he asked me about when I started to really ramp things up. And I told him it took me 2 years to become profitable, 1.5 years, 2 years to become profitable. But then I explained that I was able to ramp it up so quick at that point, because the beauty of trading is, unlike in poker, if I go from the 50-cent $1 table to the $50, $100 table, the level of competition gets so much harder. But with trading, if you're doing it for one share, like, yeah, most things have enough liquidity. You can do it for 100 shares, 1,000, 10,000 shares, and the players don't ever get any better. The market is staying the same. And so I actually found scaling in trading and sizing up, once you have that foundation and that consistency and that positive feedback loop, I was able to scale up so quick, where I went from becoming consistently profitable, then it was 10K a month, 20K a month, 30K, 100K, 200K, 300K. And it was this very hot IPO market, and the pattern recognition was clicking, my sizing was clicking. And so to do the same thing on more size, it was so easy to do, having that consistent foundation of edge to fall back on.
Lance, how old are you?
I'm 34.
You talk like a person, wise person that is 50. And this I like about you. Like mind connection, you know already good what works for you. But you were saying before how a trader should start, and knowing that we have the playbook. What is the second step that you put over here on the table that now he needs in order to perform better?
Yep. So I would say once you have that playbook, probably the next step then is to make sure you're seeing those opportunities in real time, right? Like it's one thing to see everything retrospectively and to study it, but then you need to work on spotting those opportunities in real time, whether it's scanners, whether it's alerts, whether it's having a chat room or a group to help you spot these opportunities that you're looking for. And once you process in real time and see these opportunities, you want to start to get involved per that playbook. So according to your rules, it might be to buy a breakout that meets all these different criteria. This is your stop. And so then it sounds easy, but it isn't in practice. When things are moving, all the tickers are flying, you need to get reps trying to do the proper stop. And only once you get those reps in and you're trading it properly, then you start to collect the data, see if your data is positive in real time. And only once you have positive data do you then start to size. So the way I like to kind of like frame it to traders is, you develop your playbook and your strategies. You then work on spotting those opportunities in real time, executing them per your rules, assuming you're positive in them, then you scale up. And so often people are in a rush to scale up, and that takes them so many steps backwards in everything else. You know, it's that rush again to progress as fast as they can that ends up holding people back. But that's kind of how I see those next steps. Like how do you work through your people that you work with?
I want to make one of my famous over here comparison. So I play piano since I was 5 years old, and I did the institute until like almost 18. I'm not a Chopin, very far from that, make a lot of errors, but I played on stage. And I remember that I was 3 or 4 years in, and I was playing in front of our Captain Reeds in San Marino. We have like, 2 presidents like every 6 months. So I remember that I was going to the stage. And of course, I trained before going to the stage. I was like 9, 10 years old. And I knew the piece, let's say Etude of Bach or whatever. And before, in the rehearsal with my teacher at home, I was doing perfectly. You know, on the paper, knew exactly what to do. When I was going up there, my heart was pumping. One day I even fell on the stairs going up, everybody laughing. And I was like all blushing. And I went over here, I have even hiccups. And I had to perform. Imagine what a really poor exhibition that I had. With time passed, I started having this greed in my life to become better at it, because everything that I wanted to do in my life was about performing at my best, not being the best, because I know there will be traders or piano players better than me. I don't care. I want to be the best of myself. So if I have, let's say my limit is 80%, then I want to reach my 80%, because I will be satisfied only when I reach that. So everything that I wanted, I put as my first goal, nothing else. And only the thing existed in my life at that moment. I was 10 years old, but I was like that. So I went like months later to have another of these exhibition, almost with the same, I would say, studying, but this time it was more the attention that I gave to that study. And I was more confident. And that confidence brought me, I would say, a perfect exhibition. And the same thing when I look to make a trader evolve, for me, is about, as you say, playbook, is about all the skills that you said, but it's about also the experience and the practice that will give you the confidence. And that confidence brings conviction. You said one thing so right. Sometimes traders burn out too fast because they start skilling up and then have a big, massive loss. That will destroy your personal confidence. It's like simply, I start building some bricks, boom, a tornado comes and my house goes all the way down and I have to restart. Don't do it, traders. Listen what Lance said, and he's totally right. Do step by step. Personally, when a trader starts to build an account, I like that also pays himself wiring out, so withdraw some of the money that he made in order to create a cushion in case things go bad. Now all the brokers have these max dollar risk. Let's say it doesn't work. Let's say the day you remove it or whatever, you have a 50K account, you build it to 75, boom, zero. Try it, say half or 30-40% of what you make every 2 or 4 weeks to wire out, so that you have some safety. What do you think about that, Lance?
Yeah, no, I think and sizing always comes up for debate, because I do have the belief that on really, really great setups, on your best setups, you want to bet exponentially more. But people always take it out of context when I give these videos or these talks, because there's the huge caveat that is for advanced elite traders, right? When you're just starting out, you shouldn't even be thinking about sizing, right? Your sole goal is to ensure that you have the cushion to sustain at that job as long as possible and give yourself the runway. You don't ever want to take on risk that might threaten that. So if that means taking out some P&L so that you have that cushion, you need to do that. It is prudent to do that. In fact, even in a recent video I made, I talked about how even being on the prop side, right, it's a little bit different when it's not your capital, but knowing I was going into that, I worked so hard to build up a war chest of savings, because I knew this is a long learning curve. And I knew that I need to be able to support myself to give myself the best chance, right? And if you know this is a 2-year, 3-year, 4-year learning curve, and you only give yourself the runway for 1 year, you might as well never, ever bother at all. Like, it's true. Like, if you're going to cut yourself off at the 1-year mark or the 1.5-year mark and not have enough runway, you might as well not do it, because the odds of your success are just so low, right? You need to give yourself the full runway. And so I totally think you need to be, especially if it's your own capital, you need to be so conservative to make sure you build up the chops, build up the edge, and really be very prudent with your ability to sustain at this job.
We have an advanced trader. So our beginner became an advanced. He made all the steps that you were talking about. Now he is on his, I would say, on expectations to start making more money. We cannot say really big money because this is relative for everybody, depending also on the background. Somebody can be already a millionaire, so big money for him could be like 8 figures or whatever. But let's say that He wants to make now what he was doing in 1 year in 1 month. So, and he already knows everything. He already knows the playbook. He knows to back test. He knows how to risk manage. He knows how to cut. What could he do in order to improve himself in efficiency, in evolving as a trader? That I like to use this word because for me it's just like about evolving as not only a human being but also in your mind. So what you think that you should be able to do in order to build this?
Yep. So two things. So the first is, and this goes back towards trying to force things, right? So first, I try not to have, I think goals are great. I think you need goals to think bigger. I think you need goals to motivate yourself, and you need goals to drive yourself. But I want to not be attached to those goals. I want to, like you've been saying, I want to focus on that process of getting better. I want to take all the steps to improve each day. But depending on the market, like especially in this job, there's so much outside of our control. We could have this amazing playbook, but if it's not the market for our playbook, we don't want to start to try to push and hit that P&L goal. And I saw a lot of traders get in trouble in 2022 because they had a blowout 2020, they had a blowout 2021, and they extrapolated. And they said 2022, I'm going to anchor my mind to this P&L level, and they overextended themselves. So I would say to that trader, I love the drive, but ultimately you can only take what the market gives you, right? And so follow that process to get better and to trade bigger, but only if the opportunities are there. And you don't want to start forcing it. If all of a sudden the aces and the pocket kings and the queens start to become 10 jack, you can't keep on betting the way you were betting, and nothing's ever going to change that. There's some markets where no matter what, it's just not going to be the right market for you, and you can accept it. That being said, here's what I recommend for those trying to start to ramp up is most people think about hitting the home runs. And I was really kind of like a home run trader, and I think the home runs are important, but the most important thing to work on your sizing and scaling up is to find what I call the easy money trades. Whatever your easiest repeatable trades are with liquidity that you can scale up. Because here's what I see happen is people will kind of go big for the home run, and trading is still an odds game. Sometimes you're going to fail. Sometimes you're going to misread something. Sometimes you're going to mess up. They risk too much for the home run. They take a big loss. Then they need to chip away forever, and it ruins their momentum. And so what I like to tell people to do is to find the easy singles, whatever that easiest single is for you, and turn it into a double over time and start to really maximize the easiest plays, the easiest high probability plays. And that provides a P&L cushion for you to very gradually start to swing bigger on the home runs. And that doesn't mean go nuts and double it. But I think depending on how mathematical you are, how systematic you are, you can really just kind of like, even over the course of a month, like in my easy trades, I want to risk 20% more. In my home runs, I might want to risk, I don't know, even 20, 30% more, but you got to be careful of variance, right? Because it's always an odd-based game. And so you want to start to push on the gas a little bit in the easy plays and fuel that for the bigger ones. And if you start to have a tough time, or if your mentality is getting messed up, just ease off. And again, slow is fast. If you ramp up very gradually, if you increase your size even 10% a month, by the end of the year, you've probably, not even doubled your size, but tripled it at that point, because it compounds each month.
Yeah.
And people lose sight of that long game. But that's really how I do it. And people think like the home runs are sexy. Oh, I made a 6-figure trade. I made a 7-figure trade. But the best way to really hit that level is to take those singles you hit day in, week out, and make those doubles, and then take it from there.
I like that. Singles.
It's so this would always shock me is there would be layups and just really, really easy trades where imagine a ton of liquidity. Maybe it's some imbalanced trade. Maybe it's some just super liquid stock. And we'd be able to see all the firm stats for how it would be aggregated statistics, like what the median was, what the 85th, whatever. And it would always shock me where so many traders in the firm would make the exact same trade I did. Everybody would agree wow, this was an easy trade. This was the layup. Maybe you'd have 60 traders positive in it, 10 negative. So people crushed it overall. And most people would make a couple grand in it. And if it was easy and liquid, I'd be trying to make 40 grand, 50 grand, 60 grand, 80 grand, whatever that liquidity allowed for, because this was like the easy layup. And I think the really good traders, it's people see the home runs because it's the big number, but what they do well is they maximize those easy plays, and they recognize that like this is the high probability stuff that ends up being fuel for all that other trading. And even if that home run goes wrong, you have this awesome P&L base from those easy money trades.
Sure. I personally think if we want to make another comparison, it's like everybody is very good to do something. Like, for example, I will never be like a big bench press guy, but I will like be very big, for example, in back trading. So for me, it's like getting specialized in what I know that I can do with confidence, with the least amount of stress, and that where I can simply give my best. I know that I will outperform over there. So when I see that setup, for me, is about only managing the risk, because it's by back testing, I know how many times that will work. So I have confidence in taking it. Like today I was with a trader, and there's this setup very, very easy. We simply wait that the price gets to this level and we buy. So 5 out of 7 worked. But the point is, even if only 1 work out of 7, it will still be a profitable day, because the risk reward is insane. So the point is, for me, being able to wait for those simple trades as well. And the only thing that I like about it is the way that I know where's the risk. For me, keeping the risk under control is the best thing. For example, one of the things that I like the most, especially when traders start to work, is having this ability to right away recognize before you take the trade what is going to be your target. Of course, you can still be trailing beyond your target that you pre-planned, but also what is going to be the risk, so that you have right away in mind that playbook, how much risk reward ratio will give you, and profit factor. That's for me is like the best thing, even more than the win rate. So when the trader gets in, I like that, or he sets himself right away profit softener, or he has these hotkeys that you simply have them. They calculate the amount of size that you are going to have for that dollar risk that you're having for the stock. Let's say I want to risk $50 per that trade. I know that plotting the stop loss at that level, it will get me filled, let's say like 500 shares or 200 shares, so that the trader knows before he starts, okay, this is what I'm going to risk. It's not that X that will create stress, that will create doubts, and that I will go in a loop and flip. No, you already know that is what I'm going to risk. And you know that the possible return is going to be 4, 5, 6, 7 hard according to the playbook setup. So in my case is really this kind of trading. So very, very systematic and very pre-planned. Everything that in my life I see for myself that was creating doubts is something that I like to cut it before that I put work into it, because then I know that for my personality, it'll create me stress. And when I am under stress, I don't outperform, I underperform.
Yep. And I think, and this will probably target like more the intermediate guys. Once you've got that strategy developed, you've got your playbook, the number one thing you can do is just get those reps. And so this came up in a meeting I was in last week, and you need to know your trading so well. Like if you don't know what your big losses were last month, if you don't know what your big winners were, if you don't know what the big takeaways, you're not reviewing and studying your trading enough. Like every single trade from the prior week or the prior month, you need that imprinted in your head. When you go to bed and you close your eyes, you need to be seeing these charts. You need to know your data down cold. You need to know what trades are working. You need to know what your win rate's been. You need to know all these things better than anybody else, because what happens is when you get all these reps, it allows you to recognize in real time, like you told that story when you're playing piano, is when your heart's beating and the adrenaline's going and everything's moving, like your monkey mind takes over, right? And it's the same with like the military, right? The more reps you get, the more those habits and that practice and that routine overpowers all those emotions, and you can think more just more rationally and more logically. And so the best thing you can do at that intermediate level is just drill so many reps, right? And so one thing I always talk about is what I call the highlight reel, where you record your trading screen, right? And so every big play or important play, and not big in P&L, but even if it's just an easy money trade, you record that and you build up this database. Then each weekend, you just get reps and reps and reps. So you know what the level 2 looks like. You know what that chart pattern looks like. You know, once that level is broken, what's the reaction I want to see? And one thing I try to get people to do is when they're watching these videos, I ask them to rate every moment -10, meaning super bearish, 0 being neutral, to +10 being super bullish. And I want them to have this narrative in their head. Okay, is this price action neutral? Is it bullish? Is it unsustainably bullish? Like, are we getting parabolic and euphoric? And when they narrate this in their heads and they build up this consciousness, all that consciousness then transfers over to when it's real time. So when your heart's pounding, you've already done the reps. You know what a bullish box looks like. You know the reaction you want to see. And so that intermediate level, that's kind of the stage where, like, much like with working out, you just need reps, 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 reps. We're not trying to go nuts with the weight. We're not trying to PR, but we've got our foundation. We know the technique, and now you just need so many times to just build that into, the nervous system.
Yeah, totally agree with this. It's a very important factor in, I would say, in also having a report card for yourself.
Yep.
I was a trader for cause, and one of the things that I shared was a report card that basically covers your part of trading. The trades also covers your part emotionally, also covers your routine, and you have to give a grade of yourself. For example, did I have FOMO today? Was I patient? Did I always say anticipated the trade? Was I late in my plan? Did I do the review? Did I do the back testing? So everything to make you understand what you should already have an imprint in your mind of things to do. So being systematic, being planned in what you do, for me, creates really the best environment to perform. I would like to go with the last 2 questions. So first of all, thanks, Lance, again for your patience today and being with us today. The first thing is, if you have to put down right now, if a trader is going to be able to make it on the long run, what are the 3 or 4 points that he needs besides, playbook and everybody needs in himself as a trader, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, to become successful? And then a second question I will ask you later.
Sure. Yep. So I've been preaching this point a lot lately. Maybe more, I would argue more than any other thing out there, you need what I call coachability. And the way I define coachability is one's ability to take feedback, whether it comes from your mentor, your trainer, or even just the market itself, to learn from it, be open to it, and then take the changes you need to make and quickly incorporate them. And so I've trained dozens and dozens and dozens of traders, and some of these guys are geniuses, like really, really smart people. And sometimes the smartest people fail, right? Because no matter how smart you are, you can know your playbook super, super well. You can do this, you can do that, right? You can be super disciplined. You can be the hardest worker in the room. You could be doing every single thing right. But if you go in each day and you make the same mistake as the prior day, you will never move forward. And I know you've probably seen traders like this, where they could be so successful, but whatever that limiting constraint is, maybe it's their sizing, maybe it's their stock selection, maybe they're over trading. They just don't have the ability to make those changes. And so I would rather take someone that isn't that intelligent, or even someone that isn't the hardest worker in the room, as long as they're able to incorporate feedback and make those changes effectively, because that's really what drives progress. That's like the end result that actually leads to change. And without it, if it's just Groundhog's Day, right? And traders come in and they just don't move forward, and you're never going to win. Like, I'm sure you've seen that all the time, right?
I've seen that a lot of times, a lot of times. And I always say that when somebody gets to me, it's sometimes better that he knows nothing than he knows too much.
Yeah, it's so funny because this I prepped a video and I say the same thing where it's like, and this also ties into what you said at the beginning, is I've seen traders where they made the 3,500% one summer options trading, and they come into the job and they think they're going to teach me, right? And they're doing things their way. And it's, look, like I'm an open-minded person. Like I can learn from anyone, but that's only if you're willing to learn from me. And what happens is, right, if you're not trading stocks in play, if you're not listening, you know, I'm trying to point you to where the puck's going to be. And if you're stuck trading the S&P 500, you know, 50 out of 50 days, like some days it's in play, you've got volatility. But if you're trading like Sirius Radio 10 days in a row, or if you have this favorite ticker that like you just touch no matter whether it's moving or not, I'm sorry, but most stocks are incredibly efficient. The S&P 500 is incredibly efficient. Like there is only edge in a select few places, right? And like you need to follow that mentorship and your trainer. And yeah, I've just seen so many people that just because they made money once, or because they did it over a summer, because they got lucky with a couple options, they're just not open-minded. And I love someone that's passionate for trading and is willing to give whatever it takes to succeed, but they come in with that blank slate of, look, I'm not here to trade my own biases and beliefs. I'm here to learn from all the successful people around me and make that my own and then succeed that way.
Yes, sure. Yes, sure. I like this. Being humble, first of all. The last question is, I know that you have a project, so something nonprofit. So I would like that you explain to who's going to listen to us 2 minutes about what you do, if you want, of course, because I think it's a beautiful idea what you have, and I think it's something that we would like to have in Italy. I don't know if it's available here in Italy, something you do, but tell me what to do for.
I'd love to bring it to Italy so we can just you know, break bread over with a nice glass of wine and you know, talk trading in person. And yeah, so I'd love to and appreciate the ability to plug these two things, but essentially everything I do comes from one core belief. Essentially, I believe like the world is beautiful and awesome, and we all have a role in keeping it that way and helping others experience that same happiness and awesomeness. And so there's three ways to give back. You can give back via money, time, or wisdom. And so many people will want to make excuses. I know there's people listening to this that will say, oh, I'm busy, or no, like I don't have enough money. But guess what? If you're listening to this video, you probably do have enough money or time or some ability, right? And that could be as easy as having a friend that just needs a little wisdom or is down, or it could be as easy as volunteering at a local food shelter, or it could be as easy as saying, next week, I'm going to take 10% of my trading profits and give it to a local nonprofit. And so what I do is first, you mentioned Traders for a Cause. I'm a board member there, and I'm a huge belief of their mission, which is to trade well and give back. And so even on May 10th, we're hosting a happy hour in Chicago to help proceeds go to preventing gun violence. And I think it helps people open up to the world around them, and just knowing that us as traders, we are so lucky to be able to do the jobs we're doing, to be able to have shelter over our head and engage in this very fulfilling, enlightening job, whether we win or lose. Like that is a privilege we have. So Traders for a Cause is a great way to relay that message. Then what I really do full time with a lot of my time is I run what I call the impact competition. And so I fund these competitions at universities that challenge the students to solve different social issues in their local community. So at University of Chicago, they're tackling gun violence this year. I've had Indiana University students tackle housing insecurity and help Habitat for Humanity. I've had University of Maryland students tackle just youth leadership and mentorship for disadvantaged students. And it's this really incredible thing where these students become inspired and empowered. And what I'm doing is I'm role modeling for them that no matter who you are and what stage of life you're at, you can make a difference in your community. And so I would encourage all the listeners, like, we're all so lucky in our own ways. We all have our unique talents. And this, even what you do with your chat and your Twitter, right? You're sharing advice and wisdom, and you're helping other people's life be better. And so there's many ways to do it, but I ask that everybody make the conscious effort to make that difference in the world that we're all kind of so grateful to have.
Amen. So traders, I will put over here the link to see what Lance is doing. I think this is something that besides trading gets everything of us, and we have to always give our best. You could see today Lance, the person he is, humble. He's a trader, he's a professional. He's, I would say, one of those very pure hearts and souls that I've met in this trading. That's the reason why, buddy, you're invited over here to me. We will have like a split, a bottle of wine, or even more than one. Hope you like red because that's in Italy. So thanks for being with us today. I will put your contacts. And again, good luck for everything you're going to do.
Sleep is always important, but for good friends, there's always the exception. And thank you so much for having me. And it's been a pleasure just sharing our wisdom together.
Thank you.